Hello and welcome back to 30 Days to Learn Photoshop. This is day 8 and we're looking at the Move tool. I'm Ben Gribbin and in today's lesson we are going to learn what the Move tool does and how to use it. So let's go to Photoshop. Now we have Photoshop open and we're going to use the Move tool now to, well, as it says on the tin, move objects around the design. It is the simplest tool to use in Photoshop, but we are going to cover this option bar here, which will show you some of its special features and also a couple of other features of the Move tool. So this is the Move tool. In order to select something to move, all you need to do is click on it. Now if that isn't working, go to your options bar up at the top and make sure auto select is on, otherwise if it isn't, it won't actually select and you'll have to manually select layers using the layers palette. So go to auto select to make things a little bit easier, and then when you click on elements such as text, you make sure you click on the glyph itself, and you can then select elements. You can select backgrounds, shapes, layers, anything you want using that, and also make sure show transform controls are on. Otherwise, when you click on something to edit it, to move it around, it will mean that you can't resize it. So that might be a feature that you want to ignore just for the time being. If you're moving elements around but not wanting to resize them, you could use that, but in general you want to have show transform controls on. Now the shortcut for the Move tool is V, so press V and it will select it at any point, and it's probably going to be the most used tool that you will have in Photoshop. So let's practice resizing and moving some elements. Let's go ahead and we're going to resize Photoshop 101, and also we're going to move it around. So first off, let's select 101. Now we can move this just by clicking and dragging and literally dropping it wherever we want. That's fine, that works great. If we want to select more than one element at once, however, you need to press Shift. So go ahead and press Shift and then click on Photoshop, the line as well, to make sure you've selected both of those together. And also, just for good measure, we're going to select the line along the bottom. So again, press and hold Shift and click on the line, and that has now selected those three layers for us. So we can move those around all as one. It's going to maintain the spacing between each of those elements. So to resize it, well, that's pretty obvious. You've got these little squares on each corner, and those are designed to allow you to resize it. So you can drag left to right, up and down, and diagonally. But one brilliant little trick is, again, if you press the Shift key, press Shift and hold it and click on one of these diagonals, then it will actually maintain the aspect ratio of the elements together. They won't stretch, they won't go all distorted as if they would, like so. So it actually literally scales up those elements without distorting them. That's pretty handy to use. And also you'll notice once you go into this sort of editing phase of the elements, the option bar becomes a little bit more complicated. It's got some more settings in there. So these settings are actually to allow you to minutely adjust an image. You can set the X positioning and you can also set the Y positioning. Now that's good because you can very, very precisely, to I believe 0.1 of a pixel, position something. So that's another way of being able to adjust things just very, very simply using the Move tool. You've then got the width. You can link these together by clicking on this and then resize them in terms of percentage. So you could actually adjust something to be 200% bigger. So that's pretty handy. And then also you've got the rotate menu here. And all I'm doing to adjust these, rather than manually typing in a setting, if you click on the icon, you notice on all of these that it actually changes the cursor to a little hand with a left and right arrow underneath, and dragging to the left will adjust it down and dragging to the right adjusts it upwards. So that's just a quick and accurate way as well. It's a lot more accurate than faffing around typing in letters and numbers. And then we've also got the ability to skew and distort using the options menu from that kind of advanced editing of our elements. And then once you've done, if you hit return or press the Move tool again, it comes up with apply the transformation. Now if you're not happy with it, don't apply it or cancel it, but if you are, press apply and you can see we've then accurately edited and distorted that image as we wanted. Now there are a couple more settings here that not many people seem to use, and they are very, very important elements of Photoshop. So let's just go ahead and reset that back to there. These elements here, let's say we just very quickly done them, plonk them on a little bit like that. If we go back and select them all again together, so let's go and click on Photoshop, click on the line and click on 101. We can actually align the elements using these alignment options. There's several that you'll probably want to use. There's a midline one, which would be good for laying out menus and things like that. There's also a left align one, so now we know that all of those are left aligned. We can also distribute them along baselines and vertically as well, so there's a lot of settings there. They're a very good idea to start using as well, purely because not many people do, and it just makes aligning elements in Photoshop a real breeze, because you'll see now when we pull these out that they've been, well, I've actually pressed a couple that I shouldn't have done. If we just left align them, you see they are now perfectly aligned and very, very neat. So that's the alignment options of the Move tool. And one final one you'll want to use with the Move tool is if you zoom out, so you've got this kind of area around the artboard, you can use a drag, and if you drag from the area off the artboard, it actually allows you to select multiple items in one. You can also do this if a layer is transparent. You can drag the layer or a group of layers, so you could highlight the entire page, for example. It's just a little bit quicker than selecting all of these, and then again using the Move tool to shift and realign the elements that you selected. So just one last thing when you're using the Move tool, if you're ever working on a photograph straight out of the camera, you may not be able to edit the actual photograph because you might get this error when you're trying to move or reposition or resize it. It says could not complete your request because the layer is locked. So we now know that that layer is locked, and the background layer on any photograph will be locked like this. So there's two ways to unlock it. You can just double click on the layer and it will make a new layer from the original one. So give it a name. If we just type new just to show you, press OK, that will now be unlocked and we can then move that around. So what have we learned in this lesson? Well, we've looked at how to use the Move tool to reposition and move objects. We've also used the Move tool to resize elements, and we've used the Move tool to select multiple layers and edit those. So your task for the lesson is to open up a photograph and unlock the background layer, then move it around with the Move tool. Practice resizing it, and for extra practice, select an area with the Marquee tool, which is M, and then move and edit this selection. Next time on 30 Days to Learn Photoshop, we'll be looking at the Brush tool. Thanks for listening.